Hey YouTube, here's Heiko down in my garage. Today we're going to be working on my BMW Airhead once again. I've been kind of procrastinating on one of those repair jobs that need to be done to have your bike run or have my bike run properly. It's kind of a simple job. You have to have a special tool, which we kind of have to make. And it's also a very important thing to do. Let me stop the rambling and let's get to it. So what are we looking at here? You can see I have removed the intake. The carburetor is swung over that way. I didn't want to disconnect everything. I just disconnected the fuel line and put my carburetor out of harm's way. We're looking at the intake spigot, as it is called. That is a steel part screwed into the aluminum cylinder head. And this problem has been plaguing the Airhead community for a long time. Those intakes, those spigots, they come loose. They're not supposed to be loose. And what this causes is a vacuum leak. So instead of sucking air through your carburetor, which is metered and measured and turned into a air fuel mixture, you're sucking air through the threads. It's very minimal, most likely, but it definitely can affect how your bike is idling, how it accepts throttle, or how the throttle response is. And this needs to be tight and sealed and stay there and not move. As you can see, let's take it out. We need to take it out anyways. Needs to get some good cleaning. We need to clean the threads, the external ones and the internal ones. Also want to make sure that you check your intake here in the cylinder head if there's anything going on. As you can see, there are two little slots. You need a tool that kind of grabs those two slots and then you tighten it. At the same time, you want to cool this part in the fridge or in the freezer. Heat up your cylinder head. Since there's fuel around here and oil and whatnot, I'm just going to take a heat gun, which is most likely a little safer than a torch. Heat this up, cool this down, and then use Loctite to glue it in. Really the only challenge is that I don't have the tool to go in here and tighten it down. So I came up with a plan to make one, and then we're gonna just go through the motions, clean this off, acetone, really degrease it, maybe wire wheel the thread a little bit, and then crank this down with Loctite, and then hopefully it will never come loose again. All right, let's get to making the tool. So I picked a 15/16 socket, which is an extra cheap one from the auto parts store. It's the same size as 24 millimeters, so I have multiple choices of a 24 deep socket and normal socket and impact socket. So I just took this and I'm going to cut this up. I also, in my scrap bin, I found a piece of flat steel. This is galvanized, which is not perfect for welding, but I think, you know, it's going to work. It's going to be okay. So this fits in here, so that's pretty nice. I will cut slots into the socket, make this flat steel fit in here, let it stick out on each side, maybe half an inch or so, and then we can use the socket to line this flat steel up in the slots here, and then we have a proper half-inch connection here to our wrench. And, you know, being able to assert a certain amount of torque. I don't know if there is a torque value listed anywhere, but I will definitely check before we get to the point of installing this. So now we're just going to make the tool. let's see if we can braze it. Braze it. Let's see. Chrome and galvanized. Open the garage door so I'm not going to die in here. All right, that took a little longer than welding, I guess, but you know, playing around, nothing serious. And I probably could have wire brushed the zinc off a little bit and maybe the chrome to make it adhere. It's not really an adhesion, it's more a fusion with the surface of the other metal, so, but should be fine. So here's the finished product. I just wire brushed it down a little bit. I don't want to have any of that, maybe there a little more and there a little more. Some of the slag, I don't want that to come off when I'm actually cranking on this. Yeah, not perfect. No, but it's a tool. And now I have this tool permanently. And I'm going to go and clean up my intake spigot, degrease it, maybe wire wheel it a little bit, clean the inside of the cylinder head, then put this in the freezer, and then we're going to go back when I install this. All right, so we're ready. Internal threads clean, external threads on the spigot clean. It's still in the freezer. I've all the tools that I need. I have a torque wrench. I checked all my manuals. I own 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 manuals, Climber, Haynes, and even the BMW workshop manual. And I couldn't find a torque spec for it. But then there is a Snowbomb that maintains a really nice webpage with lots of articles about lots of technical procedures, all about airheads. He says the factory manual, or a factory manual, says 12 meter kilo pond, which is the equivalent of 120 Newton meters, 120 Newton meters, which is the equivalent of about 88 foot-pounds. I'm going to start this a little lower. I set my torque wrench to 110 Newton meters. He also gave some references to temperatures and what the best way of doing this is. Best optimal situation would be if the cylinder head is removed, and then you can put the entire cylinder head on a hot plate, heat it up, check with a thermometer, and get it just right. The factory says 340 degrees Fahrenheit, which is really high, really hot. He recommends about boiling temperature of water, which is 100 degrees Celsius, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what I'm going to go by. I'm not using a torch. He also recommends if the bike is together to just go for a ride, so it's really nice and hot, and then maybe help it with some heat. He also recommends to use Loctite. I'm going to use this one here, Loctite Thread Locker Red 271, high strength. Is there a temperature rating on here? Cured product must be heated to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, 260 degrees Celsius before part will separate. So it should hold the temperatures on the intake side of an engine relatively cool all the time. So I'm going to use that 110 Newton meters, and I'm going to just use my trusty heat gun from Harbor Freight, and my spigot is still in the freezer. So we're going to have to work fast. That's why you want to have all the tools ready. Don't hold the cold part too long in your hand. Put it in, put the Loctite on, put it in, and put it together so that the temperature differential between the cooled part and the heated part is as large as you can get it while you're tightening it. And then as it equalizes, the cooled part expands and the heated part contracts, and then you will have the best tightening effect. Why, if you're wondering why I'm only doing one side, is the other side is tight, like tight. I've actually tried to take it out, used a 2-foot long breaker bar and my newly made tool, and I couldn't get it loose. And as they say in the computer industry, never touch a running system. So over there it's tight. It's a steel spigot in a aluminum cylinder head. If I force this loose, I might lose the threads in here, and I don't want to break my cylinder head, so I'm just going to leave it alone. This is not a necessity. If your spigot is tight and it's not loose, mine was loose so I could take it out by hand. If that's not the case, don't touch it, just leave it alone. $180. If one of you guys could hold this here for a second, that would be great. Huh. My BMW foot pegs fit the handle of my heat gun. That's funny. All right, so at least I can put the Loctite on while there's still being heat being applied. Okay, Loctite's on. I think that's probably as hot as we're gonna get it. You know what? And if it comes loose, I can always redo this. Sometime this winter I'm gonna do a top end reseal, and if it comes loose again, I'll just do it in the vise, and then maybe with a torch away from the engine. Yeah, that's good. 190. All right, let's do it. Heat away, cold part in as quickly as we can. My tool in hand, nicely support. Don't tip the bike over. Oh, my tool is bending. Okay, so that's not good. My homemade tool is not strong enough. Okay, so as you can see, I just bent the tool. I think this is as tight as we're gonna go. And now we're just gonna let this sit and hope for the best. Yeah. So that's in principle the procedure. I guess next time I will have to use some tool steel to make this tool. Maybe I can even take this out and redo it. I think the socket is fine. It's just a flat steel that I used. Could also use a little thicker. I really thought that would work. This is as tight as I could make it with Loctite and the heated cooling part. I think we're going to be fine. And like I said, if this doesn't work, I can always come back and redo it. All right, guys, that's that. I'll let it cure and sit and settle, and maybe try to wipe off some of the excess Loctite that I just smeared on here accidentally. Okay. All right, guys, that's it. The Loctite has cured for a few hours. I've put everything back together. Carburetor is back. All intake together. Spark plug cable back on. Let's see if it runs. No key. Ah. Okay, got a key. Choke. Ready? Uh-oh. She runs. She runs. Okay. I shouldn't have done that. Now I'm turning off a lukewarm engine. Causes condensation, causes fuel residue in the oil. All right, you guys get the story. Anyways, yeah, it's working, running just like before. Nothing has changed. Only the intake spigot is tight now. We'll see how long that lasts. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me in the garage, doing some repair wrenching on my Airhead. And maybe this video helps someone. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you. Bye.